Now we can talk about the tsunami. Look at this. The world farted earlier today, folks, near Tonga. Okay? And apparently the explosion was so insane. Tonga's Hunga Tonga volcano just had one of the most violent volcano eruptions ever captured on a satellite. That explosion was so impactful. Here, let's take a look at it.
Breaking news.
There's video. Hold on. Before we look at that, though, before CNN's coverage of it, I'll just show you this explosion, okay? Look at this shit, boys. Look at this.
Oh, fuck! Holy shit! Fuck! Alu! Alu!
Yup. That shit is crazy, bro.
Advisories now in effect for the entire U.S. West Coast and
True.
Alaska. This comes after an underwater volcanic eruption overnight in the South Pacific. Look at this video. Incredible satellite images showing a massive ash cloud and shock waves. The eruption happened near the island nation of Tonga. A tsunami, as you can see in this video, has already hit the largest island there, sending waves flooding into the capital, inundating the coastline. CNN's Allison Chinchar joins
By the way, this happened in Washington already.
us now live from the CNN Weather Center. And Allison, for viewers that are living or near the area,
You could hear the blast 1,300 miles away. Put this in the perspective of the strength of the volcanic explosion in Tonga for my American friends. It was heard in Wellington, New Zealand, some 1,300 miles away. That would be like in Florida and hearing an explosion in North Dakota. Look at the shock waves in the satellite images, dude. Fucking kind of dope, but also
of
terrifying.
This advisory, what should they expect? Is there a chance this could become a tsunami warning?
I don't think it's going to become a tsunami warning because we've looked at what it's done in other countries and even other states, Hawaii, for example. So we kind of have an idea of what to expect with this particular system as the waves kind of make their way across the ocean. Again, here's what we're looking at. The tsunami threat, all these areas you see in yellow are under that tsunami advisory. It's about 14 million people. Now, we're expecting about 1 to 2 feet of that increase of waves from the tsunami, the timing between 7:30 a.m. Pacific time and 10 a.m. Pacific time. And it's a wide variety because that's a pretty big, wide advisory when you talk about how many states are involved here. So it ranges anywhere from Homer, Alaska to expecting about 9:05 a.m. Alaska time, Monterey about 7:35 a.m. Pacific time. In fact, right now we've already started to
Here it is. Tsunami from Tonga volcano eruption starting to cause minor flooding in Santa Cruz, California. Just remember, chat, like, you joke about this and you say it's fucking, 2 feet tsunami, Omega Law, dog. That happened because of a fart thousands of miles away. Okay? Just understand how insane that is. Thousands of miles away, and it increased the water levels to a degree where there's like water damage and flooding occurring thousands of fucking miles away, dude. And for the record, 2 to 3 feet, Omega Law. What do you think climate change, the most damaging impact is going to be in the fucking short term? 2 to 3 feet of water makes all of these areas unlivable. You know that, right? Like, that's the whole point. All of those houses now, if that was permanent, would no longer be. I mean, that's Florida, okay? Put 2 to 3 feet of water in Florida and see what the fuck happens, okay? These Taco Bell wings ain't shit. Oh, God damn it, dude.
see the very first wave begin to push into Monterey. Then we'll start in about 20 minutes or so, or up to around 7:50, a.m. at Los Angeles, 8:10 around San Francisco, those that are in Pacific times. Again, Hawaii also has a tsunami advisory out, but they've already seen some observed waves come through, not just one, but multiple of the islands, most of them ranging between the 1 to 3 foot range. That's very similar to what we are.
Dude, I wish I could see what the heart of that explosion looked like how tall the fucking waves were. You know what I mean? Can you imagine? It's like larger than anything you can comprehend. Just a fucking seawall right in front of you, higher than fucking multiple empire, multiple fucking World Trade Centers. One that you can quite literally see from a satellite. Like, think about that. Like, you can see that explosion. Oh, like that from this level, you cannot see fucking buildings. You can't see you can't see the Empire State Building. You can't. That's how major that shit is. It must have been so huge, dude. Look at that. It's crazy. Stunning explosion.
We're expecting along the west coast of the U.S., California, Washington, Oregon, and Alaska. I get it. 1 foot may not seem like it's that high, but it is enough if you were standing on the shoreline to wash you off, to wipe you off your feet and knock you down. Do not go surfing. Don't go stand at the shoreline and take selfies. It's just simply too dangerous. Now, what?
It's the size of Germany. The blast radius was the size nearly, like here it is compared to the size of the country of Germany.
1 to 3 feet, while it is on the low end, it still can push a lot of water right there along the shoreline. This is the video that we've been showing from NOAA. Again, the satellite imagery. There you see the eruption itself. But around the edges here, what you can actually see are the shock waves that were created from the eruption itself. Here's a slower image of it. Again, there's the eruption. And then notice on the outer side, a lot of those shock waves reverberating out from it. This is actually from the lightning setup on that particular satellite there. Again, it just kind of gives reverberating out from it. This is actually from the lightning setup on that particular satellite there. Again, it just kind of gives you the slower motion to show you what it's been doing there. Again, impacts from this particular one. This happened on the 15th of December at 5:27 local time, about 11 p.m. Eastern time. They had some pretty significant tsunami waves in Tonga itself, but again, those waves tend to get a little bit smaller the farther out it goes through the Pacific Ocean, which is why, Boris, for states like California, Oregon, Washington, and even Alaska, we're only expecting about 1 to 2 feet for those states.
And even if the threat is minimal, still a good idea, as you said, for people to be careful if they're near the coast. Allison Chinchard, thank you so much. Of course, we will be checking in with you again later this hour on that major winter storm that's hitting much of the United States this weekend. So thank you for that, Allison. I now want to bring in Robin Andrews.
This is fake, right? No shot. This is real. No, this isn't real. This is like an old video. No shot. This has to be like a much smaller explosion from an older video. Helicopter at Orange Beach telling people to stay away. Bro, we gotta fucking hit the waves, dog. Like, fucking gnarly, dude. These fucking waves are freaking gnarly, brother. I need to fucking hit that shit. I'm feeling fucking pitted, bro. Like, get the fuck out of here. This is a movie, by the way. This is like literally a dystopian fucking movie that we live in currently. Dude, we really did forget about Yellowstone. Not me, but chat did. We forgore. Yeah, time to remember, dude. Eruption of a few hours ago from the Tonga Ha'apai volcano captured by satellites goes west in Himawari 8. Oh, you can't see shit, dude. Like, the fact that they were able to capture this, oh my God, I want to see it. I don't even know what the distance would have to be. for someone to be able to capture the size of that. You know what I mean? Like, how the fuck would you capture that? Like, you would have to be like over there, you know what I mean? If you're able to capture it, you're close enough to die. Just fucking have a drone on it at all times, you know what I mean? So we can fucking figure it out. I even have come across active streamers that didn't even know what Yellowstone is. I would just like to point out that the volcano is overdue to explode and is right here in the continental US. Also way fucking bigger.
This video was made possible.
Bro, we just said we forgot about Yellowstone, and this motherfucker's like, time to worry about Yellowstone.
Satellite images are really stunning. Explain to our viewers what's happening in these images and how these volcanic eruptions can lead to multiple tsunami warnings and advisories.
Yeah, so the first thing to point out is...
Dude, I can't believe I just made fun of the mountain time zone so aggressively, and now look where we're at. I hate this. I literally started the day ripping into the mountain time zone Andes, talking about their fucking bullshit fake time zone that nobody cares about, that 4 people live in. And right now, the mountain time zone Andes are like, oh yeah? Guess what, dude? Hey, have fun swimming underwater in your fucking $7 gazillion mansion, dumbass. I'm going to be up in the fucking mountain, bitch. Can't wait to have, you know, my waterside resort.
Is that this part of the world, it's like no surprise that there is volcanic activity happening. I mean, I think a couple of years ago, an island was destroyed by an eruption, and then it kind of built a new island out of that eruption. So you get to see this kind of destructive and creative process happening at the same time. And as you can see with these like rather jaw-dropping satellite images, is that sometimes when you have eruptions mingling with water in this way, you can get quite explosive events. And this kind of boom that everyone's seeing on the satellite imagery, it's literally it's a very large explosive part of this eruption that's kind of pushed the atmosphere out of the way. Essentially, it's not that different to, you know.
To be fair, if Yellowstone pops off, Mountain Zone Andes are fucked, but so are all of us. So, I mean, if Yellowstone goes off, it's over. It's GG's. You know, we all die.
An enormous, you know, human-made explosive in that sense, in that you're just pushing all the air out the way. So that's kind of what you're seeing here, a rather large, like, explosive sort of pulse of this kind of ongoing eruption, which has been going on since mid-December. And as for why that kind of created a tsunami, I think scientists aren't quite sure exactly what happened here, but in order to get a tsunami, you need to displace a lot of water very quickly. So perhaps part of the volcano sort of fell off underwater and just sort of pushed seawater out the way. But people are looking into these images and they'll come up with a more concrete explanation. But yeah, it's not surprising that a violent volcanic eruption from a sort of underwater, partially underwater volcano has caused this kind of tsunami. It's just fortunate that it's not worse at the moment, although people on in the archipelago are obviously seeing it slightly more severely. So obviously thoughts are with them at the moment. Hopefully everyone's safe.
Yeah, we certainly hope so as we're watching this video of the shoreline getting inundated and the capital of Tonga getting flooded. You mentioned that this part of the world, is this the so-called Ring of Fire in the Pacific where volcanoes are constantly erupting, and just that this one is underwater?
Yeah, so the Ring of Fire is kind of, it kind of sounds like all these volcanoes are kind of connected in some way, but it's more just like someone describing the shape of the volcanoes going around the Pacific, essentially where you have two tectonic plates interacting in various ways. Like, you know, if you especially have one tectonic plate going under the other, as you have here, it sets up a sort of chemical system that's very good for developing volcanoes that often have quite explosive activity. So yeah, this part of the world is known for being very volcanically active. It's always kind of volcanically active in some way. It's just that when a volcano does something particularly violent, especially if it's near people, we tend to pay more attention to it, sort of thing. So there's always some sort of volcanism happening in this part of the world. It just happens that this eruption at the moment is, you know, a particularly energetic one.
Yeah, no question about that. A professor from the University of Auckland told the New Zealand Science Media Center that research indicates that when there is this kind of eruption episode, that it could last for weeks or months. It could potentially trigger other blasts. How do you feel about that assessment?
Yeah, I mean that sounds. I mean, you know, that sounds perfectly reasonable to me. It's the sort of thing that is actually quite hard to pin down sometimes. I know your viewers will be probably familiar with the eruption that's happening in La Palma in the Canary Islands, and that began several months back, and it was unclear at the time, like, is this going to go on for weeks or for months? And actually one of the hardest questions in volcanology is how long will an eruption last? Because it's actually, you know, volcanologists getting much better at knowing when an eruption is probably going to start, more or less, but actually working out when it ends is really tricky because you can't really see how much magma is being supplied from like the really deep parts of the planet up to the deep parts of the crust up to the surface. So it's really hard to tell, but it's good to be cautious. And scientists generally say, you know, based on historical evidence of past eruptions, these things can go on for days, weeks, or months, sort of thing. But yeah, it's to be seen, really. It's kind of hard. It's much harder to pinpoint when an eruption's going to end relative to when it's probably going to begin.